Hey guys, it's Miss Landry, and today we are talking about the atom. This light is really bright, so I'm going to turn that off. I think that's better. We're going to talk about the basic structure of the atom. So let's jump in. First of all, atoms make up everything. That's why you can never trust them. Okay, I hope you like that joke. But they do. They make up everything in the universe. They're teeny, teeny, tiny. You cannot see them with a microscope. You have to actually go down to a scanning electron microscope in order to be able to just barely see them. They're teeny, teeny, tiny. They're considered the smallest unit of matter. So remember that, smallest unit of matter. As a matter of fact, they're so small that when you look at what you're made up of, there are 7 billion, billion, billion atoms that make up you. That is 7 times 10 to the 27th. So draw a 7 and then put 27 zeros after it. There's even a saying that the number of atoms in a glass of water, so the number of atoms in that, is more than the grains of sand on the entire Earth. It's crazy to think about. Even air is made up of atoms, so like what you're breathing. Most people think air is oxygen. It is not. It is mostly nitrogen. So there's a little thing, the components of air. And when we get into matter, we'll talk about how we know that air is made up of matter. Remember that matter has to have mass and it has to have volume, so it takes up space. So matter is anything that has mass and takes up space. Okay, let's talk about the parts of the atom. So let's start with the middle. So we have a nucleus. So every atom has a nucleus right in the center. Think of it like the nucleus of a cell, except this is a little bit different. The nucleus is super, super dense. As a matter of fact, this is where almost 99.99999% of the mass of an atom is found in the nucleus, and it's tiny. It's crazy how small it is. Outside of the nucleus, there are these like energy shells. We're not going to go into too much detail in this class about this. This gets into some really crazy physics, but it's basically like outside of there is like this cloud where electrons are found. And so outside of the nucleus, there's these energy shells. So just remember, we have the nucleus and then we have the cloud that kind of surrounds the nucleus. Now, when you take away like the stuff, it's mostly empty space. And it's crazy to think about that if you removed all the empty space of all the people on the earth, we could actually fit the volume of all of the people into a sugar cube. Think about that for a minute. We are mostly empty space. It's crazy to think about. Okay, so now we're going to talk about subatomic particles. There are 3 that you need to know. I want you to know where they're found in the atom, what is their charge, they can either be positive, negative, or neutral, and what is their relative mass. And remember that the term sub, the prefix sub means kind of below or under. So these are smaller than atoms. So this is what makes up atoms. So here's our nucleus again. And inside the nucleus, we have something called a proton. These are positive and they have a mass. We're just going to call it a relative mass of 1. So every time you see a proton, it has a mass of 1 and it's found in the nucleus and it is positive. In the nucleus, we also have neutrons. These are neutral. So that's pretty easy to remember. Positive proton, pp, and then neutron, neutral. Those are pretty easy. And the mass of the neutron is 1. So all of the mass of an atom is actually found in the nucleus. Then outside in that cloud, we talked about those energy shells. That's where you're going to find the electrons. They have a negative charge and a relative mass of 0. Now remember, if it's matter, it can't have a mass of 0, but we call it a relative mass. This would be like, imagine you step on a scale and you have a ring on. The ring has mass, but when you look at the mass of the whole thing, that ring really doesn't add anything to it. And that's kind of what electrons are like. Okay, so the first energy shell that's found around this nucleus can hold 2 electrons and then 8. So don't worry about that right now. We're gonna practice that with some Skittles. So just know that electrons are found in the outside cloud. Okay, So you'll see pictures like this, and what you basically are looking at here are these little red circles here are protons, so those are my positive. The gray ones here are neutrons, those are neutral. And then out here in the cloud, I have electrons, which are negative. And so I want you to go ahead and pause the video and fill in this table. You can do it in your notes, but go ahead and tell me what's the name of the particle, where it's found, what's the charge, and what is its relative mass. Okay, so hopefully you did that. Let's go ahead and put the answer. So here is proton. Oh, this is really hard. Sorry, guys. You know, it's really hard to write with this pen. Proton. So these are found in the nucleus. The charge is positive and the relative mass is 1. Hopefully you got that. Then we have our neutron. I'm just going to put NEU, neutron. That's also found in the nucleus. It has no charge, so it's neutral, and its relative mass is 1. And then our last one that we have is the electron. ELE is all I'm going to put. That one's found outside of the nucleus in the cloud. I'm just going to put a C for cloud. It is negative, and it has a relative mass of 0. So that's it for this video. I hope you guys got what you needed, and I'll see you guys later. Thanks.